Welcome to the Giants Live 2021 Europe's Strongest Man Results and Event by Event Detailed Analysis Show. So we're going to start off with the max log where the opening weight was 180 kilograms and 7 out of 10 guys failed it. They zeroed the opening weight. A shocker amongst a sprinkling of various surprises in this show. So Iron Bibby, the big heavy favorite for this particular event, not able to get there on time given travel problems he was having. And as some of you know, he had a very close death in the family. Tragedy for him. We're all praying for him. And just the travel did not align for him to get there on time to compete. So we'll start off with Adam Bishop, who I had predicted to get 5 points here. He ends up zeroing the opening log weight. He went 7th in the order, and he was also so close to that lockout, but then fell back pretty violently into the banner. Said later on that he was blacking out during this event. Maybe the remnants of the Shaw Classic being such a tough show that he just did a week ago. So Kaz started laying it on thick after Adam's turn about the lights being too blinding for some of the competitors because you're looking straight up as you're trying to clean and press the log. And Kaz complained so many times, like after 3 different competitors went, that they actually dimmed the lights to make it a little better for some of the guys. So moving on up, as I mentioned, 7 guys zeroed this, so Johnny Hansen was one of them. He went 2nd in the order. He lapped it and then dropped it at 180 kilos to adjust his belt. Then he had 2 failed cleans after that. Gavin Bilton went 4th in the order. His first clean was, his first clean at 180 kilograms, had 3 unsuccessful press attempts. He tried a second clean. He gassed out before he was able to do the press, and we did see him sort of breathing heavily in other events as well, specifically the car walk, and we'll talk about that later, having a little bit of an issue breathing as he would have liked to in this particular contest. Irvin Toots also zeroed it, so he went 5th. 3 clean failures. He was having trouble even lapping it, so Irvin probably the worst of the performances on the max log. Moving up to Pao Dwyer, who actually did very well in the contest overall, which you'll see later if you watch this all the way through and see my revelation of the overall standings. But Pao Dwyer went 1st on this, and he lapped it twice, put it down to adjust his belt, and then the 3rd one he cleaned but could not press it. So as I say, he and Gavin both with the belt adjustment thing, maybe they were too tight. Marius Lalas, the very last-minute replacement into this contest, who we were all very excited to see, went 3rd. He had 1 failed clean, and then he walked away. He didn't use up any more energy trying again. He knew he wasn't going to get it. And then we had Rauno Heinle, who also did very well in this contest overall, which you'll see later. He went 6th in the order. He had 3 close failed presses at 180. Then he fell back into the banner after one of those attempts. And Kaz, again, here started pointing out the thing about the lights, and Adam went right after Rauno, so Kaz mentioned it again. And after 3 mentions, they finally did something to make it a little better. So Alexei Novikov ends up actually getting the 180, so he went 8th in the order. They had filtered down the lights by this point based on Kaz's continued complaints, and Alexei ends up the first man to succeed at 180. So, and he did it on the first try as well. Before trying 195 kilograms, Alexei asked who was still in, and by this point it was just him. As you'll see, Graham Hicks, and as you'll see, Luke Stoltman when we get a little further up the list. And he decides, I can't beat those 2 guys. I'm not going to try 195. I'll conserve my energy. And we'll see how that turned out for him later in the contest. So 8 points go to Alexei Novikov by virtue of 7 guys zeroing this. So 9.5 points ends up being split between Graham Hicks and Luke Stoltman. So Graham went 9th in the order. He strict pressed 180. And for those of you who have watched the Shaw Classic, you would have seen how well Graham did there with max log. And no surprise, he's a monster with max log. And so the 180 didn't look as easy as his presses at the Shaw Classic looked to me. Those guys are probably beat up. That contest was difficult and very recent. So he motioned for the crowd to help him out on the 195. He was trying to get them invested. And he got it with a tad of struggle at the lockout, but he did get the 195. He bowed out after that, I should say, after apparently saying he can't beat Luke. Luke's too much for him tonight. So Luke ends up going for the next highest weight, which was 207.5 kilograms. So that's Luke Stoltman. Went for 207.5 kilograms. He got it up, all the way up. Not quite a lockout, dumped it behind his head. And then he walked away without doing an interview. So they tried to get an interview with him. And what I'll say is Luke Stoltman seemed very focused for this contest. You could tell in his eye coming out in this in this event at the beginning just how he handled himself until the very end. He was hell-bent on winning this contest. And so that's how the max log shook out. The other thing I'll mention is they had sprinklings of Eddie Hall there giving his commentary. And Eddie said for the guys who zeroed the 180 kilogram max log attempt, they didn't prepare behind the curtain well enough. It's all on them, which I found to be a really bold comment given some of these guys like Adam Bishop just did a horrendously hard or terribly hard contest just 1 week ago. And at this time, I'd like to let you know that this video is being sponsored by our good friends at Garage Gym Life Media. If you like some of the analysis I've done on domestic contests in the past and want to know some more about the fine folks who are putting together and streaming some of those contests, I'm going to let John Greaves III, the founder of Garage Gym Life Media, tell you a little more about it.
Training in a home gym, especially if you're training by yourself, can be tough because sometimes you just don't have the motivation to go in your garage or your basement and get it done. And that's why we stream competitions every month on the Garage Gym Life Media YouTube channel. I'm John Greaves III, founder of Garage Gym Life Media, and after 20 years of training in a home gym, I can tell you that there's some days when I just don't feel like training. And those are the days when I put on some sort of training video or other strength-related content to give me the extra motivation I need to get in there and get it done. There is nothing more motivating than seeing people achieving their goals at a powerlifting meet or a strongman competition. And that's why month after month, we provide that content to you right there in the comfort of your own home on our YouTube channel. Plus, we leave it up forever so you can always just throw it on in the background anytime you need that extra dose of motivation to get you going. And that's why if you're not already a subscriber to Garage Gym Life Media, I invite you to take advantage of this opportunity to add this powerful training tool into your arsenal, because I want you to succeed right there in the best gym in town.
So now we move on to the shield carry. The shield carry was a 200 kilogram shield, walking it for lengths of 20 meters, turning around, coming back, and you keep going until you drop it. You go for maximum distance. So starting off here, Adam Bishop comes away with 1 point, goes only 7.45 meters, which is nowhere near even one lap. And again, we find out later he was blacking out here as well. So he did this 7+ meters and basically dropped it and seemed to crumble. And from that point, you could tell something was wrong. He just wasn't at his best. And so we'll move up on the list. And Johnny Hansen ends up going 22.3 meters. He dropped it right after the first turn. He was going against Pa O'Dwyer. And so Graham Hicks ends up partway back on the second lap. He puts it down and he was holding it like on its point. And he had to be told, like, let it fall forward. You get credit for that distance. And he ends up with 27.4 meters, 3 points for Graham Hicks. As we move on up the list, we have Alexei Novikov, who was going against Adam Bishop. He didn't have as good of a pickup as Bishop did, so despite the fact that Bishop was blacking out and having other issues, he squatted down like almost into a seated position, so the shield was up here and he could really pick it up easily, whereas Novikov was hunched over, so once he picked it up, he had to readjust before he could start going. Despite that, 27.65 meters for Novikov, 4 points. Moving on up the list, Gavin Bilton comes away with 5 points. He went against Marius Lalas much of the way back on the second lap, so he was almost 2 total laps, and then had to drop it. So Kaz asked him why he didn't grab it lower, and Gav said it was his first time with this equipment, so he's still kind of getting used to how to do it correctly. 6 points end up going to Pa O'Dwyer, so you'll start seeing a pattern here where I told you he did well in this contest, and it was great to watch him compete. He went against Johnny Hansen, or as they were pronouncing him, which may be the correct way, Janne Hansen, in the Swedish manner. And so about halfway back on the second lap, Janne had to drop it. Then after that came the funniest back and forth I think I've ever seen in Strongman, where Pa O'Dwyer was interviewed by Bill Kazmaier. And for those of you who have followed Pa, you know he does a Kazmaier impression. So Bill kind of egged him on, and Bill was trying to do an Irish impression of Pa, and Pa was doing returning or responding in his Bill Kazmaier voice. It was really funny. You should pay for this contest, maybe even just to watch that. It was very, very funny. 7 points go to Rauno Heinlo, who I mentioned also had a great contest today. He was a little faster than Irvin. They pronounced it Toits, so we've all been saying Toots. I'm going to have to ask Eloi Fournier, my friend, who knows how to pronounce every strongman's name, to see what is the correct pronunciation. But we'll go with Toits for now. So Irvin ends up passing his mark by a touch at the end. So Rauno dropped it first. He was faster than Irvin, and then Irvin caught up, knew where he had to get to, even kind of contorted his body to torque it around a bit, and beat him by just a little bit. 7 points to Heinla and 8 points to Irvin Toits. 9 points went to Luke Stoltman, so he went versus Graham Hicks, and he was out way faster, very, very fast, and got right past 2 full laps. So he did his one turn, his second turn, and then kind of dropped it right after that. So 42.2 meters for Luke Stoltman. And then considerably more than everybody else, 54.2 meters to the winner of the shield carry, Marius Lalas, the last-minute replacement. He went versus Gav Bilton, and he was halfway down his third lap, so way farther than anybody else, and he was super fast out of the blocks. So Marius Lalas putting on a shield carry clinic. That's how the shield carry shook out in 2021, Europe's Strongest Man. Now on to the deadlift on the axle. So by this point, Adam Bishop had seemed to have withdrawn, so I didn't see him compete on the deadlift. He gets 0 points, obviously, for that. Johnny Hansen does compete. He ends up going alone because of the withdrawal of Adam Bishop, and he tried 3 times, couldn't do 1 rep, so he zeroed that as well. 3 points end up going to Irvin Toit, so he does 2 reps on the deadlift, and he went against Rauno Heinla, and Irvin was already kneeling after 2 reps. So you know how some guys will do a bunch of reps and then kneel, get a rest, get back up, and keep trying? Irvin was already kind of taxed after 2 reps, so 3 points go to him. 4 points go to Luke Stoltman. He went against Marius Lalas. 5 points went to Gavin Bilton, and he went versus Pa O'Dwyer. And those 5 points were for 5 reps. Pa O'Dwyer then versus Gav Bilton did 6 reps, got 7 points for that. And he used a lot of really efficient leg drive. You could see Pa was using his whole body, and was really kind of a clinic on how to do a deadlift, at least to a layman like me. Marius Lalas does 6 reps as well and splits that 7 points. He went versus Luke Stoltman. He was very controlled the whole way. The 7th rep was millimeters off, so he was like so close to getting a 7th rep. Didn't quite get it, and then his strap gave way. Marius also never kneeled to rest. He kind of hunched over a little bit, but he never kneeled. So really impressive deadlift performance from Marius. 7 points also go to Alexei Novikov for putting up 6 reps, and he was in the second pairing versus Graham Hicks. The couple of things there. There was a delay. He took some time to go get into a tighter suit, so like a minute or two. He took all kinds of time to get his strap set, even after the whistle blew. And after Hicks was like 3 reps through, that's when Alexei got his first one. So a lot of weird stuff going on there. He also talked after the fact about having recently increased his body weight to kind of compete better, and that did not work out for deadlift for reps for him. Graham Hicks gets 9 points for a performance of 8 reps. And again, he was versus Novikov, hyping up the crowd. And as I said, he did around 3 reps before Novikov even got 1 up. And then 10 points go to Rauno Heinla, who does 9 reps, which they mentioned is a new world record for a 360 kilogram deadlift for reps. So 9 reps for Rauno Heinla. Congratulations to him. He went versus Irvin Toits, and much, much smoother than him. So great performance by Rauno. That's how the axle deadlift shook out. Now let's discuss the car walk. So again, starting off with Adam Bishop, who had withdrawn by this time. He zeros, of course, for not competing in the car walk. Gavin Bilton ends up with 2 points. He does 7.73 meters, and as I mentioned, he blacked out under the car. He had trouble even fitting in it correctly and turning around to face forward, and overcome with emotion when they finally go help him out. Felt like he had kind of just not lived up to his potential on that event, but we know that he gave his best performance, just wasn't there today. 3 points go to Graham Hicks, so he went against Rauno Heinla and did 25.76. And that's for time. So Gav doing distance because he didn't make it the whole way. Everybody else made it the whole way, so these are all in seconds. Irvin Toits completes the course in 24.91 seconds. He went against Luke Stoltman, and he rolled it over the line at the very end, but they gave it to him. I didn't hear of any additional time added or anything like that. but he did roll it, and the announcer said so. Rauno Heinle ends up with 5 points. He does it in 22.84 seconds. He went against Graham Hicks. Both were a little bit slower than some of the fastest guys, but Heinle won. He beat Hicks. He dropped the car at one point, picked it up cockeyed, like off to an angle, and had to walk it across the line diagonally and still beat Hicks. 6 points to Yanni Hansen, who went first on his own. He completed the whole course in 20.6 seconds, so had a good time that stood up fairly well. Not top 3, but fairly well. Marius Lalas went against Alexei Novikov. Both of them seemed incredibly fast to me. Marius got 7 points for 16.79 seconds. We then move up to Pao Dwyer, who walks away with 8 points, third place here, 16.07 seconds. He went against Gav Bilton, the aforementioned Gav Bilton, who blacked out under the car and didn't complete the course. After the event, Pa was asked what was going through your mind, and he said, just get through this as fast as I can, complete it, and go see how Gav's doing and check on him. Luke Stoltman gets 9 points for second place, does it in 13.59 seconds, and looked like a complete rocket ship during this event. He went against Irvin Toitz. He left him in the dust from the very beginning and completed the course easily. And, of course, the winner of the car walk was Alexei Novikov with 10 points in 11.19 seconds. Think about how fast that is. It's unbelievable. He went against Marius Lalas, and both of them were incredibly fast. And even after this crazy time that Alexei laid down, he said that his health and his knees are preventing him from doing his best, and he wants to set the world record in this event one day. So amazing that he lays down a time like that and then talks about it being compromised. So that's how the car walk shook out at Europe's Strongest Man 2021. Now let's talk about the last event, the Castle Stones. So as we mentioned, Adam Bishop had withdrawn by this time due to 2 blackouts on 2 different events, and he and his coach talking and thinking like, this is crazy, let's live to fight another day. Then we have Gavin Bilton, who by this time had also withdrawn because of what happened in the car walk. He did not compete. Zeros as well on the Castle Stones. Yanni Hansen, ends up doing 5 stones in 48.01 seconds. So he went against Irvin Toitz, who actually had a good time and did well here. And the crazy thing that I noticed was Irvin finishes his run. Yanni's struggling with the 5th stone. Irvin walks over to him, which is common, like egging them on and encouraging them. But Irvin put out his wrist, put out his arms, allowing Yanni to take more tacky off of Irvin's arms and use it and get the 5th stone up. So didn't know that that would be permitted. But again, in strongman, if nobody says you can't do it, go ahead and do it, I suppose. 4 points go to Marius Lalas. He gets 5 stones done in 24.76 seconds and seemed very excited about that. I didn't know if he felt he wasn't going to get all 5 stones. This is considered the quote-unquote lighter set, the one that Adam Bishop recently won a couple contests ago at Giants Live. Of course, he was not at his best today. I had predicted him to win this event, but, understandable the condition he would come in after competing so recently at such a difficult show. Irvin Toitz gets 5 points for 5 stones in 23.5 seconds. Again, I told you the whole story about what happened with him versus Yanni Hansen. 6 points go to Graham Hicks, so he went against Marius Lalas. And this is where they mentioned the live feed issues. So I don't know if you're aware, but apparently there were live feed issues where during the Castle Stones, the live stream cut off. So again, I did not watch this in real time. I watched it about 4 hours after it happened. And there were 2 separate videos. They worked flawlessly for me because by that time they were edited, ready to go. A couple hours later, Giants Live has a whole team working on their editing so they can do these things quickly. But yeah, so for me it was one video that was everything except the Atlas Stones, and the second video was all of the Atlas Stones, so you didn't miss anything. That's the thing about Giants Live. So yes, it's a live stream. It's not a totally edited down version. So you see everything. So while you were waiting between events, there was music, there were interviews. The Atlas Stones, you saw everything that was going on and trying to figure out, they actually could tell you on the broadcast, our live stream is down, we're working to fix it. They made a couple jokes about it. It's not like you're just waiting, looking at a screen, wondering what's happening. But there was apparently for the live viewers an issue with the live stream. And this is the pairing where they started telling us about that. 7 points went to Pao Dwyer, so he went against Rauno Heinle. They let Pa go tacky up all the stones before his run, which I haven't seen before. Maybe it's common, but I felt that was a little weird. Like you usually carry your tacky with you and disperse it as you go. But yeah, they let him actually go tacky up all the stones ahead of time. So another kind of peculiar thing I wanted to pass on to get your comments about. 8 points go to Rauno Heinla, who was against Pa and barely edged him out. So Pa O'Dwyer was ahead of Rauno from the beginning, and Rauno overtook him kind of halfway through and then beat him for the 8 points. 5 stones in 21.2 seconds for him. 9 points go to Luke Stoltman, who you might be seeing a pattern here, did really, really well today all around. And his performance was 5 stones in 20.58 seconds to only be outdone by the guy he went against, Alexei Novikov. They're the best of friends in real life and mentioned this a few times during the telecast. Novikov does 5 stones in 18.74 seconds for the 10 points. And so, taking all that into consideration, let's look at the overall placings. So Adam Bishop, as we mentioned, had a rough day, blacking out a couple of times, not able to complete all of the events. He walks away with only 1 point and 10th place. Moving on up, Yanni Hansen walks away with 9th place, and that was done with 11 total points. 8th place goes to Gavin Bilton, who also did not finish all of the events. He did not get to do the Castle Stones. 12 points for Gavin. And let me just say, I had predicted him to be in 8th, so I got that one right. But we'll do another show about predictions another time. 7th place goes to Irvin Toitz, so he ends up with 20 total points. Then we have 5th place in a tie between Pa O'Dwyer and Marius Lalas, both with 28 points. 4th place goes to Rauno Heinla, who I had not given enough credit. I thought he'd still be really injured, but no signs of those injuries today. 30 points for Rauno. And then we get to our podium, our Europe's Strongest Man 2021 Giants Live podium. 3rd place goes to Graham Hicks. Congratulations, Graham Hicks. 30.5 overall points for him. 2nd place goes to Alexei Novikov, who scores 39 points and gets 2nd place. And of course, by process of elimination, and because I put him on the thumbnail, your overall winner and new Europe's Strongest Man 2021 is the one and only Luke Stoltman. Congratulations, Luke Stoltman. 40.5 points. And unlike a criticism that I recently had, or constructive criticism or area of opportunity I had for the Shaw Classic, where Trey Mitchell won, and they talked, I thought, too briefly. In this contest, they talked a lot about Luke Stoltman at the end. They gave him all kinds of credit. A long interview. I think it was over 2 minutes long. It was the attention he deserved. He was very focused throughout and overcome with joy at the end. It was just an incredible story to watch. And that is what I saw today watching the Giants Live 2021 Europe's Strongest Man 2021. I hope you liked this detailed event-by-event and competitor-by-competitor breakdown of Europe's Strongest Man 2021 results. And of course, as always, until next time, ciao, homie.